What's up, HOA MMA fans, and welcome back to the show. AJ, how the hell are you, man?
I'm good, bro. Obviously haven't been on for the past couple of weeks, but been busy. It's been a bit draining, but I'm off work for 2 weeks. I've got annual leave. So took some time off. It was my mum's birthday last Friday, so took some time for that. Just catching up with friends, family, kind of just giving myself time just to chill and recharge before we get into the holiday season. So I'm taking it easy, man. I can't really complain. I can't
Yeah,
really
no,
at all.
that sounds nice. 2 weeks off, get to do your own thing, get to recharge. That sounds very, very nice.
And before I ask about everything that's gone on with you, big news.
Yep.
We've found out about the strike finally has been ended. They've obviously, if you don't know, actors and big heads in Hollywood have been clashing for a while. Things have been delaying. So that strike's finally ended. It's finally ended. So, if you're kind of into your movies and stuff,
It's big news. It's really big news. It's great that you know
it's great
they're
for them.
giving more money to people that deserve more money.
Exactly.
It's not necessarily the top actors that are getting more money. It's the people that are behind the scenes that are getting more money. And that's what's important. And that's what helps makes this industry so great. It's, of course, there's a lot of really talented people that, get up there and act, but they wouldn't be able to do their job without a lot of these behind the scenes people. And I'm really happy for some of those folks getting the money they deserve going forward. Animators, camera guys, just the works backstage. It's incredible for them. And, look forward to getting back into, new movies coming out on time, things like that. So obviously, we'll have to, still wait more time for Dune 2, but we will have more updates as we go.
Speaking of which, considering that is annoying that it came 5 days after when Doom was meant to come out, I've got the next best thing. So I'm going to enjoy one of my favorite films ever in 4K glory. So
okay. Just because you showed me that, give me 1 second. I have something to show you.
bet. No way.
All right, let me get this lined up.
No way.
I got to make sure they're even. Sorry for the delay, folks. Here you go.
All of them.
There's the whole Dune book
all
series.
Wow.
I was like,
you are putting me to shame considering I only have the first book.
There was a really good deal on Amazon. That's why I grabbed them all. But I figured since we have this extra year layoff, I'm getting back into reading and everything. So Dune's going to be the next series I start reading. So I was like, you know what? I might as well just get the whole thing and be prepared for, the Dune future. So there was my little tidbit for you today.
Nice, man.
AJ, we've got a lot of important things to get to. We've got our fight night recap. We've got the 30th anniversary of the UFC. We've got UFC 295. Are you ready to get into it?
Bro, I've been ready, man. I've been excited all week for this episode. I've been waiting to talk about this.
Me too. We've just counting down the hours, counting down the minutes to get to these fights that everybody is excited to see. But let's start with the fight night recap. Honestly, very busy Saturday for me. I caught the main event. I caught the results. Was there anything underneath that impressed you?
The most impressive showing was probably the Co Main. Nicholas Dolby put off a big vet move against Gabriel Bonfim, who was looking all world so far, undefeated. In the first round, Bonfim did Bonfim things, but Dolby has shown why across his across his MMA career, why he's never been stopped. He managed to take everything that Bonfim threw at him in the first round. And after that, Bonfim was kind of gassed. Yeah. And he was able to switch it over and he got a really good finish. Like he just kept on slowly, just methodically, just like chipping away at him and just breaking him down and got the finish in round 3. And he's been kind of underrated in a way because he's on a 5-fight like win streak now, even though he's quite old. I think he's 38 37 years.
38 now.
Yeah.
He just had a birthday.
But you have to be really good if you're going to get past him, because he's shown that he's really hard. He's really hard to crack. Like, there's no one who's been able to really put him away. You have to really like, earn the win against him. A lot of people will probably remember him. He fought Darren Till to a draw when Darren Till was like coming up as his surging contender at 170 pounds. But the way that he handled Bonfim, it also, in Brazil, when 99% of the crowd is going to be like against you.
Yes.
Literally, that was just very impressive for me. Another person that caught my eye is Chao Barrelo.
Yeah.
Against Albus Magomedov. Chow's been on my radar for like a while now. It's one of these guys at 185 who can really make that next step. I know I say this a lot about a lot of people, because most of people in the top 10, we've seen them fight amongst each other a lot, and we kind of need like new blood there. But he's very impressive. And especially with his personality, the way he can talk on the mic outside, like, you can tell he could become a really like fan, like a big like fan favorite beyond just fighting in Brazil. Like, he's very likable, and his fighting style is very, very exciting. Even though he doesn't get a lot of finishes so far, but he's shown that in his fight before he did get finished. So you would imagine he's probably going to be the guy who could probably really make that next step. And to be honest, he can be most of 11 to 15 at 185 right now, in my personal opinion. And he showed that. So
I think that's a
he's definitely someone that a lot of people should definitely keep their eye on.
Yeah. As you mentioned, 4 out of his last 5 are unanimous decisions. He's on at least a 5-fight win streak. Let me see. I mean, obviously he only has the 1 loss, and that loss was like his 2nd fight ever. So he's really stacking together quite the run. Just because, Abbas was in the news a little bit because he got booked for the fight before. Well, what's the fight? I'm drawing a blank. He got booked for
Sean Strickland, wasn't it?
Yeah. He got booked to fight Strickland, and Strickland just demolished him. Do you think this guy maybe got thrust into the limelight a little too fast?
Against someone ranked, yes. But the fight against Chow kind of made sense, because before then there was a lot of hype around him, and he was built as this, okay, he is going to be a future perennial like contender, top 10 guy. Right. We threw him against Sean early, which now that Sean's the champion doesn't really look as bad. It's like, okay, cool, you lost against a person who's currently the best middleweight within the UFC right now.
Yeah.
And fighting someone against Chow kind of makes sense. It's like, okay, you two are on similar like paths right now. It's just that you went ahead a little bit too early. So the fight matchup kind of made sense, and the fact that Chow dealt with him in the manner that he did, is what makes the win so much more impressive.
I guess the reason I say that is because, to me, this seems like 2 fights in a row that he never really got out of the starting blocks. He was very inaccurate in this fight, and that's, credit to his opponent, but he just seems like he's not gotten out of gear in his last 2 fights, in my opinion. So we're definitely seeing him struggle with some top level competition, but I just would like to see. There just didn't seem like he ever got into a rhythm. I mean, based on stats, he was 38 of 107 on his strikes. Like, that's crazy inaccuracy, in my opinion. I just need to see him maybe drop back down, get a win or 2, and then work his way back up again. I don't think the UFC did him any favors giving him Strickland, but like you mentioned, this fight was probably a little more close. But the way Chow fought, it just worked its way out where he was much better on that night.
I guess on paper, in terms of matchmaking, it made a lot of sense. But again, now we know how good Chow is.
Yeah.
But again, if you're someone who's coming to UFC and there's a lot of hype around you, it's either you sink or you swim. And unfortunately, on this time when it was a bit more of a even playing field, I guess, on paper, he didn't come out on top. So I can kind of agree with what you're saying in terms of, let's maybe, because there isn't really like a gimme. Because anyone on this roster can beat you at any
Right.
time. You're literally in the big leagues. You'll fight against the best of the best, but maybe not face against. Maybe giving someone where it's kind of like how they're doing with Terrence McKinney right now. They're just easing him back in because they can see there's something there. Let's kind of just ease him in and kind of get his just get him, let him just have his like mojo back, and then we're gonna let him allow him to like make that jump again. Maybe in a way that kind of way of like matchmaking may benefit him.
I think that's really well said. That's a good strategy for a guy like, because we know he's a talented guy. He's just ran into some buzzsaws in his last couple fights. I do want to shout out Angela Hill. 16-13 is a wild record, man, to still have a job in the UFC. But she had 8 minutes of control against Gomez, 5 of 9 takedowns. She had a nice performance. I just she's still hanging on there, so I'm going to give her a little credit when she put together a solid performance herself. Let's jump over. Yeah, go ahead.
Crazy KO.
Yes. That guy's dangerous. I mean, at light heavyweight, is that? Yeah, I mean, like, I like that guy. I like the way he's put together. I like the way he fights. I'm looking forward to seeing him more. But let's jump to the main event. This fight was only intriguing in the fact that in the first minute of each round, they were on their feet. The rest of the fight wasn't very intriguing because Almeida's ground and pound is very suspect. He wasn't as aggressive as people probably would have liked him to see. I mean, the commentators talked about it all night. It was a dominant performance, but I thought there were times throughout the fight that he could have got Derek Lewis out of there if he really stepped on the gas, and he didn't. And Derek Lewis, it's knockout or lose at this point. Like I mean, and obviously the fights are very cut and dry like that anyway. But he doesn't have another win con in this way. Like he doesn't have another way he can win unless it's a knockout, and that's catching up to him in his career. I know you're a big Almeida guy, so let's hear about your thoughts on that.
I defo think Almeida is a lot better than that. Like in terms of a performance, yes, it was dominant. It just wasn't this statement, considering that you are headlining in Brazil, so you literally have home turf, you have home advantage, you got the crowd. Like this whole event was kind of like for you to come out as this next heavyweight contender. I say it's all the time right now. We have the four princes. We got two of them who we're going to talk about later on, Aspinall and Sergey. We got Gon and we got Almeida. Four guys around the same age, this new generation of like heavyweight MMA fighters, and this was Almeida's chance to kind of join the party in a sense. I will say this: if he did this against Curtis Blaze, who was originally meant to fight, it would have been a lot more impressive, considering Curtis Blaze like skill sets is so wrestling heavy. But we've seen people take Derek Lewis down and put him away with ease. We saw this with DC when DC did it to him, and we saw this recently with Sergey Spivak, which only happened around 2 fights ago, like for Derek. So we've seen him being controlled and dominated, and Almeida had chances like to do that. I felt he could have trusted like his hands more. He didn't really go for the ground and pound. If you're able to keep him down there and you tee off on him, even if let's say you're not doing concussive damage, if all Derek Lewis is doing, I'm literally just going to cover up. The ref can the ref may just go, look, you're basically taking damage anyway. I can call this off.
I guess my thoughts on it too were you're just giving Derek chances by keeping him around.
Yeah,
like and that's what that's why I kept watching. I kept watching because it didn't look like Almeida wanted to get him out of there. So at the beginning of each round, okay, we have another shot at maybe Derek doing something crazy. Almeida clearly is the better fighter, clearly has a bright future. I just think going into his next fight, I want to see a little more urgency in some of those situations. When you're clearly the better fighter, you should be able to get that guy out of there. I mean, it just was pretty cut and dry for me.
Yeah, and we've seen him before where like he can actually trade a little bit. Of course, doing it against someone like Derrick Lewis is dangerous and you're
Yeah.
running the risk of getting nuked, and we completely get that. But he needs to kind of like trust his hands a bit more because this isn't a BJJ match. This is an MMA match, and
Mhm.
he's capable of mixing it in to set up the takedowns for him to use his grappling.
Right.
But he was just kind of okay, let me just take the path of least resistance, you
Yeah.
know. And we've seen this before. We've seen many of guys take this approach where we'll just take you down, we'll keep you down there. I mean, it's it's not fun. It's not fun to watch at all. It's not exciting to watch. It can be effective against people who don't know how to get out of those situations. But considering that he's on the cusp of joining the likes of Garn, Aspinall, Pavlich as these next four guys to lead heavyweight MMA, and he's smart to call out Garn.
Yes, yes.
But would that kind of performance warrant that kind of fight for obviously like many people? No, I know better in the sense that in terms of a matchup, it's very intriguing to see Garn on the feet against Almeida's grappling.
Right.
I wouldn't mind if they rebook him against Blaze to give him another chance to show I'm a lot better than this, and this is what I can really do.
Yeah.
But yeah, as dominant as it wasn't the most fun to watch, and it wasn't really the most impressive in the sense that it gets someone who we know has no wrestling or grappling game to them, really.
And that's the main thing I'm not trying to say he fought a bad fight or anything. It just I don't even expect him to sit there and trade with Derek on the feet. But you had such a big advantage on the ground, and you had him in positions where it seemed like, this is the time, elbows, ground and pound. It just never seemed to, came up. He landed at 120 strikes out of 153. He did a fantastic job. 20 minutes of control, but we just probably needed a little bit more. If you want to be one of the top four guys going into the new era after Jones and Stipe, we've already seen Sergey get Derek out of here. We saw Ty get him out of there. We've seen guys that are in that same class get Derek out of there, and Sergey did it on the feet. Spivak did it on the ground. Spivak's not in that group, but he's right in that lagging a little bit group behind. So we've seen guys get Derek out of there that are in his class. I wanted that. And then if I saw that, I'd be like, okay, Gon and Almeida get the win, or they're potentially could fight the winner of our fight this weekend. But I don't think that's deserved now. So
I also feel like if this fight was like, let's say, on a main card on any other card, it was like fight number 2 or fight number 3, cool. But the fact it was like the main event and this was built for you, like it was his chance to like really show himself, and you go out and do that. I feel like that's why a lot of people are just feel a little bit flat about that as well.
Sure. All right, AJ, let's move on. I think we gave them enough time today. 30th anniversary of the UFC. AJ, we've had 30 years of this. I was 2 years old when this started. So
I was.
What are you exactly? That's what I'm getting at. I didn't know if you wanted to let the crowd know, but I felt like they needed to know.
Born, man. I was just a little sperm somewhere flown about.
This sport has given us a lot over the years. We're clearly very, big fans. Just give me some thoughts on 30 years of the UFC.
Well, do you know what? I was thinking about it like for the past couple of days because I knew that we're both going to talk about this, and it's for one, it saved martial arts in a way because before then, the view on martial arts was Bruce Lee movies and John Claude like Van Damme, and it wasn't, and like Karate Kid, which are great movies and they're cool, but it's, I guess, in the eyes in the Western world, I would say martial arts wasn't taken as seriously, and especially like cage fighting as well. Cage fighting was seen as barbaric, and even in the early days of the UFC, it was seen as barbaric. It
was barbaric, and it really was.
I remember like UFC 1 when the guy grabs him in the crucifix and just elbows the guy to death, like just literally puts him out. It's crazy. And if you're gonna look how it was then, it was pretty much, it was either you were a grappler, or you were like a boxer, or you did like karate. Whereas now we've seen with the UFC over time, with Pride and all these other things, when they took Pride, when they took like Strike Force and Invicta for like example, and seeing how it's grown from the days of like Hoist Gracie, the days of GSP, Matt Hughes, Anderson Silva, the first real guy to really blend everything together in terms of like an athlete standpoint, probably like John Jones. And then we've seen, you know, the social media era with you know, like Connor, Izzy, all these big stars coming in. And the fact that now, you know, over 30 years, for one, if we're talking about from just in terms of skill, everyone's well rounded everywhere. It isn't just, you can't be like a specialist. Even if you are a specialist, you need to have some sort of other facets of aspects of MMA integrated into your game plan if you want to be successful at the highest level. Is the UFC is one of the biggest sporting organizations in the world. It has a big monopoly in terms of MMA, but it's up there with any other organization out there. It sells out whenever they have crowds. It sells out. You know, MSG, like tonight on Saturday, celebrating the 3rd anniversary in MSG, which is a mecca of boxing and combat sports in general. And the UFC, ever since when Conor became champ over there, it's become like a big event over there. It now dominates Vegas in a way. Because boxers move to more like Saudi Arabia now in terms of for like the big money fights, in terms of like heavyweight boxing and stuff. Maybe because boxing don't really have the best against the best as get each other as much. The UFC is king in Vegas. Whenever they have a big fight in Vegas, it sells out. It's like literally the big thing over there. And it's actually crazy to see. Like I said, it's just crazy to see the growth that is gone, and it's only going to get bigger. You know, signing up with Endeavor, linking up with the WWE and this big entity as well in terms of its marketing. Its marketing's A1. In terms of its matchmaking, the best against the best, week in, week out. And it's been an absolute joy for me to watch. You know, from I think from the age of 17, 18, when I really started watching MMA like properly, to now. It's crazy to see how much MMA has become a part of my life, and how much I appreciate it. And with that, I've ventured into watching watching some Bellator, and watching a bit more Muay Thai now. So it's definitely got me an appreciation of martial arts a lot. And it's grown, it's growing crazy. If you look at, you can't think of any other sport in the last 30 years that's probably changed as much as MMA did, and that's because of the UFC.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think what everything you said there really just encapsulated my thoughts too. I think you did a fantastic job of describing the feeling. There's not a day that goes by where I don't think of something that involves mixed martial arts or the UFC. You know, all week I've been thinking about Yuri versus Alex. Like, it's been in the back of my head. I've been thinking about Pavlovich versus Aspinall. Like, these things have been like just in the back of my mind throughout the whole week. It's crazy how invested we've become in the UFC over these last 30 years. AJ, in honor of the 30th anniversary, I want your 3 favorite fighters.
One of them won't be
of all time. Sorry,
of all time. It won't be in any order. I'll just say 3. To be fair, you can ask me in like a year's time. It may change. I may have another 3, or maybe 1 or 2 changes. But in terms of right now, I'll go with the fighter that got me into the sport, which was John Jones.
Yep.
Like, I know that, take away him as a person outside of the cage, because I know a lot of people have their feelings about that, and to be fair, I do too, as much as I probably don't say it as much whenever we talk about John. I have my personal opinions about that as well, but he's the reason why I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be talking with you about MMA pretty much every day if I didn't watch him fight. It was just crazy seeing someone so well-rounded at such a young age, because I'm thinking I'm quite young myself at the time, and when I used to see MMA on like Spike TV and stuff, it was like Chuck Liddell, Anderson Silvers, all these like and like Vanderlei, all these like older guys, because I'm basically like a kid around this time, and then obviously John comes about, and I'm like, who the fuck's this guy just beating
Yeah.
up everyone? Like he's just in these most creative ways, like choking out Lyoto Machida with that standing guillotine and just drops him as if he's just like a dead body. You know, seeing him against Rashad Evans when he just outclasses him, finishing like Rampage, the war against Alex as well, the rivalries against DC, you know, and just seeing someone that dominant in a sport where to be fair, people don't really be dominant in MMA that much. People
Not
kind
like
of have
that.
some people kind of just have like their time, and eventually it catches up with them. Eventually they'll lose. We've seen it happen time and time again. But John has shown over the course of his whole career that he is literally he's the greatest fighter to ever walk on this planet.
Mhm.
And it's just crazy that like and in terms of like who he's beat as well, crazy. So I'm kind of more in awe of him, and that's probably why I'm a big fan of him. But he's also my entry point. So yeah, I'll definitely say John. Second
Okay.
one, second one, simple. Izzy, Israel.
Yeah.
It's like um Israel's probably the fighter I probably relate to the most. You know,
Mhm.
I'm a really big fan of him as a person as much as I'm a fan of him as like a fighter. Got me I won't be ashamed, he got me into taking up kickboxing as well. My interest in that is because of him. He's exciting, you know, and I guess I'm invested in his story, in his journey as well. And the fact I appreciate with him is that he's honest and he's raw. Like even there are times where I don't agree with things in which he says, he stands on him as a person. And win or lose, he will give grace, and he's very like respectful and stuff like that. And yeah, so and there's a reason why I'll come to that, because there's a like, and he's given me so many favorite moments in MMA, like kind of just like period as well. Number three is a hard one. I'll tell you this now. It is not Darren Till. Before you start thinking about that, it's not Darren Till. You start saying anything. This one's a hard one because I had a few people in mind. Um, but my third is Max Holloway.
I figured he was coming along somewhere.
Yeah, Max Holloway is my third because I never get a boring fight from him. Never.
Yeah.
Like he's if if I want to watch someone and I know, okay, I'm guaranteed to have a good fight and a good performance for the most part, it's Max, because Max is all action. He's all action, and he never cheats out on his
Right.
and he fights anyone. And that's the thing I like. Like he'll fight anyone. Ever since he lost the belt, he could have gone, okay, I could move up to 155 and chase his big money fights. But he's like, no, I'm 145. Who's basically next up? I'll fight a year. I'll fight Arnold Allen. His title
Yep.
reign, you know, he beat Brian Ortega when Brian Ortega was like undefeated and stuff. He beat Jose Aldo back to back. You know, he kind of and he isn't afraid. He isn't afraid to dare to be great. He moved up to try to face Khabib. He couldn't make that fight because of the weight issues. He tried to fight Dustin Poirier at 155. It didn't go his way. But you know, with him, like you will get an 8 out of 10 out of him
For
90,
sure.
95% of the time. And his fights are just amazing to watch.
Really, really strong three fighters. Obviously, great selections. My three favorite fighters, starting a long time ago, Quentin Rampage Jackson. Um,
Of course.
he's the reason I fell in love with the sport. I just remember very early days. I believe it was MySpace. There was the it's now a GIF or a GIF, whatever you want to call it, of him power bombing Ricardo Arona, just
Mhm.
relentless power bombs that just made me fall in love with the sport. And I started to look into him. And he used to come down to the Pride Ring with the wolf mask on, listening to oh shoot, it's the one of the an old Eminem song. It just the whole aura around Rampage Jackson at that time was just incredible. you just always felt like he was going to knock somebody out, and it was just really made me fall in love with the sport. So Rampage, obviously, and then he finally. I'll leave that one for our next little topic. My next fighter, Daniel Cormier.
Yeah.
Learning about him when he went through Strikeforce and his rise to the title, it just always felt like, until he was the champion, he always felt like the underdog. And then when he got to be champion, obviously besides against John, he was just so fucking good. Like, in every facet. Winning the heavyweight title while being the light heavyweight champion was a massive accomplishment in anybody's career. And he fought some of the best guys at the time, and he beat them all. I mean, he beat Stipe. Obviously, Stipe got him back. But he has some of the best wins in recent memory. And he also, pushed John to be better. He couldn't beat John, but he definitely pushed John to be better. And I always appreciated that about him. Now he's gotten a little corny, but when he fought, that guy could really, really fucking go. And I always appreciated Daniel Cormier in the ring, or in the octagon, that is. And then a little more modern, over these last couple of years, talking with you, going back and forth, my appreciation for Alexander Volkanovski just continues to rise and go and go and go. He has that same gene that Max Holloway has, where it doesn't, anytime, any place, anywhere, I'm showing up ready to fight. And he's illustrated that twice now by fighting Islam on, somewhat of a disadvantage. It just, and the fact that he's gone to war with Max, those 3 times. There's not a lot of guys, Max included, that are just willing to fight no matter what. Anytime you need them, they're there. And he has, he's turned into the probably the best fighter at 145 we've ever seen. I just always enjoy watching that guy fight no matter what. So those are my 3: Rampage, DC, and Volkanovski. AJ, before we move into the UFC 295 fight card, can you give me your top 3 moments of the last 30 years? If you want a second, I've got mine written down. Do you want a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think my one of my top 3, this isn't in order. Bonner versus Griffin. That first fight was potentially one of the most important fights in UFC history.
The most important fight, like it in the same company.
Yeah, I mean, without that, we don't know what happens. So I always have a massive appreciation for Stephan Bonner and Griffin, just pouring buckets to save a company. It's something you can always hold on to as a fight fan. My second one is when Rampage knocked out Chuck Liddell in the rematch for the UFC title in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way he caught him very early in the first round, that counter, that come around right, that just felt like dynamite in his hand. And then he went out and beat Dan Henderson after that. So that fight was another massive moment in my fandom. When he knocked out the Iceman again, it just was just a big deal for me. And I will contend that the Griffin decision after he beat Dan Henderson was a absolute robbery. He beat him. He beat Griffin in that fight. Randy Couture knew it. Griffin knew it. Everybody knew it. He won that fight, but he still lost the title. That moment was really big for me. And then my last moment, when Brock won the heavyweight title the first time, I thought that was a really big moment for the UFC. Brock has been a cash cow everywhere he goes, but there's just something special about seeing a guy that I followed, obviously from WWE, seeing him win the heavyweight title was just crazy to me. I didn't think it was possible because obviously we knew at the time that WWE is scripted. It's not all real, but he came over and fought guys who were dangerous, and he was like doing really well, and he was winning, and he was just tackling guys and shoving them into the ground and pound. So him winning the heavyweight title for the first time was a major moment for me also. So those were my 3 that came off the top of my head earlier. Nice. Now that I gave you a little bit of time, what 3 moments come to mind for you?
I've got three. Again, these three can change. If you ask me in an hour's time, I'll probably have another three coming up. But the first one is a one. Is it this moment is more. It isn't really. It's kind of a mixture about the moment itself and the moment of when it happened for me personally. And
Mhm.
this was when Connor beat Alvarez to become champ. And the reason why I say that is because, for one, it kind of gave birth towards the biggest star that the sport has ever seen. And it
Mhm.
was kind of like the high point of Connor's like journey, like his rise,
Yes.
like that crazy wave of like Connor mania with people going crazy, the Aldo press conferences, like the trash talking. That was kind of like built up towards that moment right there. And that kind of really put eyes on the sport of we have this crossover star now. But the reason why it's a personal favorite for me personally is because it was the first MMA event I watched with my brother. So anyone don't know, I have a younger brother. He's very much independent. He kind of does his own thing, but he was starting to get into MMA a lot more. And at the time, everyone's talking about Connor. Everyone's talking about Connor. And we were at our uncle's. It was for, I think it was for our cousin's birthday or something. And he was like, "Oh, Connor's fighting tonight. Connor's fighting tonight. Like,
Mhm.
can you like watch it with me?" And he never asked me to watch anything with him, right? Even though me and him are very close, we get along very, very well. We just don't really do those kind of things. But he was like begging me, like, "Please, please, please watch it with me." He was like, "Oh, he even bought like his laptop. I always bring my laptop anyway. He was like, "Oh, I've even bought my laptop. Can we just watch it together?" So I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll base if I can wake up in time, I'll watch it.
Mhm.
Because I've kind of got over the fact that I'm out with family. I'm probably not gonna be able to watch it. He's waking me up at 3 a.m. Like, wake up, wake up. So we're
Right.
watching it together. We've basically gone downstairs in the living room to make sure that we're not waking up anyone else when they're
Yeah.
sleeping, and we're watching it together. We're watching the whole event. Remember, Yao Romero literally kneed the crap out of fucking Weidman, blood everywhere,
Yeah.
all everything like that. Won the way against Tyron Woodley as well. And when Conor pieced up Alvarez in the manner that he did, and me and my brother both going crazy, like we're literally trying to not to lose our shit at like 5 o'clock in the morning or some shit. And that moment is like a personal thing for me because it's like
Yeah.
that's something that I watched history, but I shared it with my brother. So that's like a moment for me. That's
For
like
sure.
something that I always remember. Another favorite moment of mine. The moment's probably been diluted a little bit considering his last fight, but is when Izzy finally beat Alex Pereira. It's again, if everything I said about Izzy and me being invested in him, after seeing him lose, coming so close in Madison Square Garden the year before, he was on the verge of winning. Like he was gonna win a decision.
Yes.
Got caught. He got caught again. And I always remember coming up to that fight when he's walking out to when he has the unleash reference with when he has like the collar like around his neck. He's coming up
Mhm.
to Crocs, and I'm just nervous. I'm feeling like I have a bad feeling that this guy just has your number. Like no matter what, like as great as you are an all-time great. You're one of my favorite fighters ever. And I have a feeling that there is a good chance you're gonna lose again. And that's gonna be
Yeah.
hard for me um as a fan. And when he's getting pushed up against the cage, like happened last time, and Alex is teeing
Mhm.
off him, you're feeling the writings on the wall, like it's happened a lot earlier. And then when he lands that right counter and drops him, I just remember seeing our group chat just going fucking insane.
Yeah.
Um,
It was wild. It was just wild. I just.
yeah,
Whew.
I was yelling. I woke up my house. Everyone in my house
Yeah.
was woken up by that, and just finally seeing someone finally overcoming something like that. You can see how much it meant to Izzy and the way that he gave his speech afterwards. Like it's kind of right in a sense. Like very few people would kind of ever like feel that feeling like of how he felt, and I wouldn't know how that basically feels like. But it's like I can only imagine to see that
Right.
happen for him. Because no matter what happens now, I know that he's coming off a disappointing performance and he's going to take some time, but that's going to be his moment. When people talk about Izzy, they're going to remember for when, okay, Alex beat you 3 times across MMA, kickboxing, but the one moment everyone is going to like remember the most is when you put him out flat.
Yeah.
And that's a moment for me that I would always appreciate. The final moment is the Rocky story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just the
I
head kick
mean,
heard around the world. And
the w-
I could have picked loads, but that one moment, I don't know why.
the way his coach was talking to him in the corner, it just it was like Mick was talking to Rocky in the movie. And I'm glad you picked that because it was so incredible. But yeah, continue. It just gives me that vibe where Mick's yelling at Rocky that you could take this bum, and it was so perfect. Just keep going. You're good.
Yeah, because it's like Liam only got his flowers like recently. I've always been a fan of him, but there was
Mhm.
other guys, like Darren Till. When it was coming up, I was a big fan of. Um, Someone like Nathaniel Wood, because Nathaniel Wood is kind of from an area like close to me and seeing him rise up. So Leon wasn't really the most popular UK fighter coming out, as good as he was. But over time, I came to, especially when I got to understand the nuances of like kickboxing, the way he's so technical and the
Mhm.
small things that he does, I came to appreciate him like um, um, a lot more. And
Yeah.
then after many times when he's getting like looked over for the title shot, when he's on this great being run, he isn't getting given this chance. Other people who are getting chances above him to trying to make him fight Hamzat when Hamzat wasn't really proven yet. They took him out the rankings, all of this
Yeah.
stuff. They finally give him his shots. It's like there's no one else really right now. You give him a shot. It's in Salt Lake City, high altitude. He takes Usman down. He gets after round one, he's gassed. He's getting ragdolled. It's kind of like rinse and repeat of their first fight when Usman's just dominating him. Usman's on this win streak where if he wins, he ties Anderson Silva's like win streak. Talks about fighting Canelo, moving up to light heavyweight. All these talks of him as his all-time great, and no one's been able to beat him up
Yeah.
to this point, apart from one person early in his career, but within the UFC, no one's been able to like beat him or come really close. And then fifth round, I'm thinking it's done. It's done. He tried. It's going to be like how Dan Hardy fought against GSP, Till against Woodley. Brits
Yeah.
don't win the welterweight title. Clearly, they've had two chances, hasn't really worked out. And then when he lands the head kick, I remember going like numb. Like I was like, is this fucking happening? Like he's just laid him out.
Yeah.
And his speech kind of hit me a lot more, considering that he is someone like obviously Leon is obviously from he's from the Caribbean, like
Mhm.
me. Like I come from that background on one half of my family and such, and kind of seeing someone who's kind of had like a similar like, background to me, who's kind of lived in a similar like environment in terms of living in a big city over here and what that kind of entails. Difference in Birmingham and London, but there's like similarities in terms of what you kind of have to deal with
Mhm.
at times. And his story as well, like his story is amazing. Like it's amazing to see that he's actually been able to overcome what's happened to him, and the fact that he finally got his moment. And when it thought that this wasn't going to be it for him, he finally overcame that in that way. That's definitely something that I'm always gonna like remember. I remember as well when he defended against Usman in London. I took my friends, we went out to watch it, and it's like
Yeah.
I'm seeing someone who I've over time become a big fan of, and
Mhm.
it's all because that moment, like right there, and that's something. And it's one of the most iconic comebacks ever, and it's
Yeah.
one of the greatest KOs that you will ever see as well.
For sure.
And it couldn't happen to someone who deserves it a lot more than him. So yeah, so those right there are my three.
It's the single greatest comeback KO in UFC history.
In combat sports, arguably.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the single greatest comeback KO. Yeah. No, I'm for sure. Those are fantastic moments. Yeah, a lot of really good, really great moments throughout, the UFC. Just incredible. I'm hoping for 30 more years, obviously. But
Yeah.
let's get into something that we've both been looking forward to. Just just a massively important card this weekend in the Mecca, Madison Square Garden. AJ, before we get into the main card, your gal Lupi Godinez is fighting on the undercard or on the prelims.
Against my
There's
other gal,
yep
my other one,
against Tabitha.
Richie.
And then we've got Jared Gordon on the early prelims against Marco Madsen.
That's
What do
going to be a
you?
good one.
Yeah. What are you looking at, man? What are you looking at on the early fights?
I know that people are going to be a bit annoyed that it doesn't lack the big names on the card, considering that it's the 30th anniversary and stuff. But Tabitha Ricci and Lupita Godinez is a interesting fight because these are two girls who are kind of knocking on the upper tier at flyweight.
For sure.
And this is, I think it's flyweight.
Strawweight.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So this is, we're gonna see which one is gonna make that next step because both of them are really good. They're both good on the ground. I give Tabitha probably an edge in terms of that department, and Lupita has shown that she has good hands. She may not get the finishes, but she has really good hands as well. Yep. So this is going to be an interesting matchup for me. Roosevelt Roberts is back. People maybe remember him when Ignacio Bahamundes spinning kicked him into the shadow realm. But he had his chance back on Tough with when he was on Team Chandler. He got that first. I remember the first fight. He knocked the guy out early, so he's shown that he's obviously having his chance again. Against a really good opponent. I think is it a Replica?
Yeah, he's probably in trouble against Replica.
Replica is good because he's only lost one fight in his career. Never lost in the UFC. Even though he is a bit on the size at flyweight, he's like 5'6", 5'7", but he's definitely someone that you would think with his kind of record would be a little bit higher along in his career. But this fight's gonna be very interesting, and there is. Right, so we got two guys who have two really good nicknames who are going to be an absolute barn burner. You've got the Black Wolf against Slava Claus. That fight right there is going to be a really good one as well. So I know people are saying the prelims doesn't have star power, but if you actually look at who's actually competing, there are a lot of interesting fights. And Jared Gordon against Mark Maxson on the early prelims will be good. Will be a good fight because both of them are good grappling. So if you kind of like your wrestling, that's something that you should keep your eye on.
For sure. A lot of good fights, not the name power, like you said, but good fights early. Let's get on to the main card. AJ, kicking off Diego Lopez versus Pat Sabatini. This one's a good one. Really interesting fight to kick off the card. Pat Sabatini has been around for a long time. Diego Lopez getting his opportunity here after a couple wins. What are your thoughts on this one, man? At the flyweight division.
Flyweight? Isn't Lopez at featherweight?
Featherweight.
No, yeah, you've kind of hit it right on the head. This fight is going to kick off. Is going to kick off the show in terms in terms of the main card. It's going to get everyone going. Sabatini's been around for a long time, but he's in really good fights, and also I think he's on a good streak. I think in the last 5, I think he's 4-1 in his last 5. I think.
Yep, 4-1 in his last 5. He lost to Jackson in September of 2022.
Yeah, so he's in very good form, and Lopez has looked amazing so far. Came in short notice against Evaluev, looked really good in that first round. No shame in losing to him. Ever since then, he's been stellar. You know, his last fight, he got that very early finish. He's very impressive. And the fact that he's been given his chance to kind of open up the main card at Madison Square Gardens, it gives him a chance to go out and make a statement and to show that, again, my fight against Evaluev, it wasn't a fluke. I am that good. Even though I lost, I do belong amongst that.
Right.
In 2024, it's time for me to kind of kick on and make a jump within the rankings in a very tight division because there's killers outside, you know, like the top 15. Right. So, but you know, But Lopez is gonna have to be on his A game, because if you come in thinking that you're just gonna run through him, Sabatini is very savvy, and
Yeah.
because he's in good form, he can easily just upset you and kind of just take you down to score a little bit. But I would imagine that Lopez is gonna probably make a statement. I'll say round 2 finish.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going Lopez also. Pat Sabatini obviously is a very hard night out. I think so. I think Lopez just has a couple more tools in the tool shed to help propel him to a win here. I like the second round also, but really solid fight to open up the card. Next we've got Matt Frivola
On Bono.
versus Benoit Saint Denis.
Bono.
Give me BSD to win this one. I'm excited for this one. I've been on the BSD bandwagon for a little while here. This should be a good one.
This is going to be a barn burner. Benoit, amazing performance in this last fight against Ismail Bonfim. He literally just took him apart. He's looked good. Benoit Saint Denis looks like one of these new guys on 155. He's probably going to make the next jump, but he has to be. If he's going to win, he has to keep it technical. If he tries to go into a firefight against
Frivola,
you are asking for trouble, because he can show he can knock anyone out. He took up Drew Dober. He literally cracked the Chrisman chin, and as good as Saint Barney is everywhere, and he's probably going to fancy that he can maybe like trade with him. We've seen Benmore get hurt before. He has lost.
Yeah,
I remember his first. I think it's Dos Santos.
Yep.
Santos really pieced him up, and if Avola gets him like that is over. Like Avola will go and put him away. He needs to make this an MMA fight and not just a barn burner. But I have a feeling that them two are going to trade.
Mm-hmm.
I do have Benoit Saint Denis winning, but I'm going to say a split decision. I feel like this fight is going to be potential fight of the night contender.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Frivola, man, tough fight for BSD. That is a really tough one. Excited for that one also. Next fight on the card, Jessica Andrade versus Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern has to take this fight to pay off for her divorce. No, she made that joke herself. That was her own joke. I'm just.
Well, did she? Yeah, I haven't watched any interviews.
Yeah, no, she made the joke. I think earlier today. This is a fun fight. I got Mackenzie Dern. I'm gonna go round 1. I got Mackenzie Dern getting her out of there in round 1. Andrade's really struggled recently, and I was kind of surprised they got the match 3 on this card. I think Mackenzie Dern has earned this spot, but Andrade's really struggled recently. So what are your thoughts on this one?
There's a reason why that this fight is happening, because they've been trying to push Dern up to the top for a while now. And every time in which she's come close, we've seen it against Marina Rodriguez. Mm-hmm. And I think Yao Shannon as well, I believe. Whenever she's kind of been against these top tier opposition at 115, she's kind of just fallen a bit short. Even though she's kind of improved their game, like at beginning she was very like one-dimensional in terms of, I'll just take you down. If I'm able to get you into my guard, because my jiu-jitsu is that elite, and she's easily the best BJJ practitioner at 115 pounds. She has that advantage. It's pretty much over. But if people were able to keep it on the feet with her, they're able to really just like pick her apart, really. But even though she has improved her striking a lot more now, and she's caught Andrade at the right time in terms of Andrade is on a 3-fight losing streak, I believe, and she's been finished. She's been finishing all 3. Last fight against Yang Janan. Yang Janan literally just smoked her in the first round.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad, as you said. Andrade needs to kind of remember that she has power, especially at 115 pounds. She has power, but she just can't be reckless. And when you're on a lose streak and you're losing a lot and you're getting finished a lot, it can be a bad habit to get into. She just needs to kind of just be patient and kind of just set on Dern up into this power shots.
Yeah.
The only problem is that because we can see that even though she cannot she can actually grapple on 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 the ground, there is a weakness there where like where if you take her down and you're able to get on mount and get into those positions, but like ahead of her in terms of her grappling defense recently hasn't looked that great. And considering that, at the moment Dern's going up and Andrade is going down, and
Yep.
if Dern wins, she gets a former champion's name on her resume, and it's like, okay, now we can really push you on after obviously Zhang's next fight, because I think Zhang's faced against, don't know if it's the next fight's been announced yet.
Let me look real quick. Let's see. She's fighting. Not been booked yet. No.
Not been booked.
Nope.
But we're gonna imagine it's probably gonna be Zhao Nan in China, or against what's her name?
Aaron?
Pardon?
Aaron Blanchfield?
No. Blanchfield's 125 pounds. She had a good win recently. I think it's Tatiana Suarez. It's probably gonna be one of.
No, she got cut, I thought.
No, you're talking about Talia Santos.
Oh, I got it mixed up. Yeah, because I pulled up Aaron Blanchfield's thing, and she fought Santos last. That's
yeah,
I'm with you.
So we're gonna imagine it's either gonna be finally the big great China fight against Zhao Zhanan next for Zhang, or Tatiana Suarez, who basically looks like a champion in waiting,
right.
And basically because she is, if Dern's able to get past on Andrade, it sets her up as, you could be next. Or maybe if Rose comes back, that gives her a chance to really make a statement out there. And I do have a feeling that Dern is probably gonna catch Andrade. I'll say late in the first round. She's probably gonna probably just catch him with like an armbar or something like that.
I'm with you on that. Now's the time we're all been waiting for. We are into the co-main event. We've got the two scariest men in the heavyweight division fighting each other. Sergey Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall. This one's got gladiator fight written all over it. AJ, give us your fight prediction and why you picked Tom to win this fight.
Boy, there's so many scenarios in which this fight can go. Both these guys are quick finishers. Pavlovich, 5 fights, 5 first-round KOs. Tom, in terms of Tom's octagon time so far, it's a very short amount of time. I think it's just barely over 1 round overall in terms of his time spent within the octagon. Speed is going to be key to this fight, because Pavlovich's hands, people don't just see him as this big power puncher destroyer where he just swings. He throws very precise straights, and they come quick. They come very quick, very, very quick. We've seen this happen against Curtis Blades, Derek Lewis, Ty even. He has very, 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 very tidy boxing, but because he has crazy power, the fact he can throw it so quick when people are not really reactive enough, it literally just blows them away. Tom has quick hands as well, but it's going to be Tom's footwork, which is, for someone of his size, is crazy. It's going to be how he's able to navigate avoiding Pavlovich's power, and he's going to have both of them are going to have to be smart when to go and trade, because if one guy lands, it could be it, and most likely if one of them lands clean first, the fight's going to be done, because both these guys hit fast and they hit quick. Tom on paper looks like he has a bit more tools in his arsenal because we've seen him able to take guys down and use his Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Even though Pavlich does have a background in wrestling, his base is wrestling. He was really good in Sambo. We haven't seen him much in MMA. And if you look at his one loss, Alice Overeem just took him down and literally just ground and pounded him. Like he literally just beat him up.
To be fair, that was 18 fights ago.
And that game was a long time ago, so we can't really take much really based into that. You know, if Tom's smart, maybe try take him down and test his grappling to see, okay, what can I do with this? But something tells me this fight's gonna end long before that happens, because these guys hit too hard and they. And both of them are fast, so it's gonna be one moment where someone lands quick, and I have a feeling that Tom is going to be able to set something up just using his footwork. He's probably going to set up just using footwork and feints to be able to catch Pavlovich and get him out of there. But it could easily happen. It could easily happen like the other way. But I've got Tom in the first round, but someone's going down within the first 2 rounds, because basically these guys do not stay in there for long.
Right.
But yeah, I've got Tom. Tom. But boy, I am worried. I am worried, man.
So I think what you said is the smartest way for Tom to fight. It's got to be a lot of footwork. It's got to be a lot of calculated punches, because the problem that we've seen against Sergey when he's fought against people is it only takes one punch for him to be in his rhythm. And all of a sudden he hits you once and it's mounting and mounting and mounting. We've seen him do it multiple times now. Tom is good enough to prevent that rhythm from happening. I will be interested to see if he does take a shot just to give Sergey a different look. But in my opinion, I think these guys want to knock each other out and be the heavyweight champion in that way. I have Sergey winning. But like you said, it's literally a flip of the coin. Who gets that shot in first? It's very, very close. These guys are so dangerous that I don't care either way who wins, because either way we're getting something spectacular, in my opinion, in this fight. So
both of them are great. Both of them are great. Like, I'm as much as a fan of Tom, I'm a fan of Sergey because he goes out there and just blows people away. And to kind of follow on in what you said of both guys want to go for the knockout, you find out MSG, both guys weren't really meant to fight. And I know that this probably won't happen, but in their eyes, whoever wins, I'm calling out John Jones, and I'm probably going to fight him. And, I know people are going to say probably next year they're going to rebook him against Stipe and allow them to have their final fight together. But if one of them goes out as we expect and makes a statement and just cleans the other guy out in such a way and kind of makes enough noise, if you get that fight against John, and if you get the chance to become the undisputed champion against him,
this fight has a lot of layers to it, because you have a shot
at greatness.
If you have you could write your legacy by winning this fight and going to fight John Jones. So there's a lot that's important to this. Something tells me Tom wins this fight, but I'm going to pick Sergey. Won't be surprised either way. No. This is such a matter of millimeters on who touches first. Does Sergey get into his rhythm? Can Tom throw him off his rhythm enough and touch him up? It's so close. We are talking minute details here. It's so exciting. You're going with Tom. I'm going with Sergey. Either way, I think we're all the winners as the fans in this situation.
Oh, yeah.
And let's move to the main event, because we're in the same exact situation. We're the winners in this situation. We either get Yuri back with the belt, or we get Alex with the belt, and we just get more greatness. Question for you. If Alex finds a way to win the light heavyweight belt, he all of a sudden his resume is just all-time great type resume. I mean, and he's only fought 10 times. It's kind of insane what's happened here.
He goes down, even though he already is in terms of his resume already, but he goes down as one of the greatest accomplished kickboxers ever,
Right.
because you are a 2-weight champion in glory, which is literally the gold standard in terms of like kickboxing. That's literally like the standard. Guys like Rhaegar van Hooven, who's the long running dominant heavyweight champions over there. Cedric Doumbé was a long defending champion over there as well before he moved over into MMA full time. If you go out there, if he goes out there and wins and he beats Yuri and becomes a 2-weight UFC champion, regardless of the middleweight run, he kind of got fast tracked. He beat Izzy. Period.
Yeah.
Like point blank period. He beats Izzy, and considering that he would have beaten in theory Izzy, Sean,
Yep.
Jan, Yuri. That's 4 champions. That's 4 current or former champions. He would have beaten in around 10 fights. Crazy.
It's one of the more wild things possible.
It's wild to say. Like, that puts him amongst the most accomplished kickboxers, strikers in MMA. Period. But on the flip side, Yuri becomes a two-time light heavyweight champion in 4 fights within the UFC.
It's crazy.
Nuts. And also another thing, Alex is undefeated fighting at Madison Square Gardens in kickboxing and MMA. So
it's just, there's just so much going on, and
there's
this like these are like legacy fights. We're in like legacy fights right now. Yuri wins this fight, you know, all of a sudden he's one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time, 2-time champion. If Alex wins this, he's got one of the best resumes of all time. There's so much riding on this fight, and it's just like Tom and Sergey. There's razor thin margins with these two, with the talent that's in the ring. I mean, let's get into it. Who are you picking to win this fight?
Do you know, it's hard because I've been going back and forth ever since this fight got announced. When it was just the co main, I was like, oh, I can see Yuri doing this, but I can just see Alex finding a way to kind of like counter that. And on the flip side, I can see Alex doing this, but I can see Yuri making a way to kind of like make like a really good read. Do you know what? And I was saying this to a friend of mine actually. This main event seems more fitting in a way in terms of for the sport, for the 3rd anniversary over John and Stipe. And there's a reason why I say this. In terms of for the company, the go against the greatest heavyweight ever makes sense. You know, from just purely from a company point of view, even though Stipe may not deserve it on merit because he's sat for so long, but in terms of a legacy fight for legacy of the UFC, the greatest that we've ever had, the greatest heavyweight we've ever had within the division, within the sports, like biggest division in terms of like heavyweight fights is like the biggest be all end all throughout the history of sports. Boxing, when heavyweights boxing's good, it's great. So on and so forth. But the fact that we've got 2 guys who kind of really embody martial arts in a way, because you know we've got Alex Pereira, a accomplished kickboxer, comes from the like his back of his heritage of like his tribe and the warriors in the past. Yuri, who's obviously from the Czech Republic, but is adopted this kind of like Japanese Bushido like code way of like living. After reading the Book of 5 Rings by Mayumati Masashi, something that I've actually read. Very, very good book. Any anime manga fans, if you've read The Vagabond, this is the real life Mayumati Masashi, you know, the book that. So the guy who, the legendary Ronin samurai swordsman, of which the manga is basically based on. Also, going off topic, but is one of the best mangas you will ever read. I recommend just reading that. Is amazing. It's great. So you got 2 people who really embody that like warrior like spirit. The fact that they're like headlining the 30th anniversary seems very, very like fitting for me. Sorry, you're about to say something.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say he's gonna be in the next season of Baki also.
Yes.
But continue. But like you said, this almost feels like back when, like this is like almost like a UFC 1 type. These are just the baddest dudes you could possibly find, and they're just going to come in and settle. It's got a lot of lineage to it. And I think you're on to a good point. So continue with yours.
Yeah. So, and you got two guys where, you know, they're kind of similar, but they approach it in a different way. And the fact that them two come together, and the fact that in terms of a matchup, like their styles are going to be so interesting to see, because we've got Yuri has this kind of unorthodox way that he goes about in the ring, and the way that like he throws his strikes. He's very dynamic, and he's very like creative, and he kind of take risks in a way. He's like, I'll go out there, like it's either kill or be a kill kind of thing. I will fall on my sword in order to, in order to go, in order to get the first. And he also talks about, talks about the victory, like everything goes for basically the victory. You got Alex is a bit more calculated, like he doesn't really show his emotions, but he's very much of a cold-blooded approach, where he's like, he chops you down with basically like leg chops you down with his leg kicks. He kind of like sizes you up. He kind of baits you into running into his left hook, which is just devastating. And seeing them two kind of come together, you can see it going both ways. You can see Alex just setting Yuri up if Yuri kind of like zigs when instead of basically zagging and that left hook comes, he can catch him out. We can also see Yuri just putting so much pressure on Alex and actually being able to push him back and catch with something where Alex doesn't expect. Alex may feel like, okay, he's gonna go push me against the cage and may tee off, and he throws like just like an spinning elbow out, but like nowhere, puts him out, or or throws like a flying knee, because he threw that against Volkanovski. He threw flying knee, set up, like the 1-2 that put him away. This fight can go so many ways, and I know that Yuri's talking about, I'm more well-rounded than him, and I'm going to take him down, which is probably the smart thing to do. But considering what Yuri's like, he's probably want to test himself on the feet, which for us makes for a more intriguing fight. It does play into Alex's hands a bit more, but Yuri's more than capable of going out there and literally putting Alex out. I'll be real for you, man. I am literally on the fence. I just have a feeling that Yuri's going to pull something out, but I can see Alex literally just catching him. But it's very, very interesting. I just can't wait to watch it. Like I'll just be pointing, like regardless of basically like who wins. Whoever wins, you've got a great fight with Jamar Hill coming up afterwards, probably next year, which is a great fight in itself. But like it's tough, bro. Like honestly, it's tough. But if you made me choose, I've got Yuri. Just.
I think there's something that you said there about Yuri using what he perceives as an advantage and pushing Alex around and things like that around the cage. I think that the fight against Jan is really going to help Alex in terms of somebody who's got that size like Yuri. I mean, Jan's built and got a very similar build. He's not as explosive and things like that as Yuri. He doesn't have that aspect, but in terms of power, I feel like Jan's got that same size and things like that. And then I think another thing that helps Alex a lot is Glover's fought Yuri in a war, and he's seen everything Yuri has.
He was seconds away from winning. Seconds away from.
I mean, he literally got caught and like it's. I think that experience is going to help Alex also. He saw it from cage side. He got to see Yuri up close before he ever actually had to fight him. I think there's a lot of pieces that can help put the puzzle together to help Alex win this fight. And because of him having those experiences and having Glover in his corner, I'm going to give him a slight edge, because I think things like that matter when you're on such a close, like these guys are, neck and neck in terms of their fighting ability, but Glover has that experience. Alex got to see it up close, got to experience it at the time. I'm going to give Alex just a slight nod over Yuri. It's going to be very, very, very close. I'm very excited, like you are. It's going to be a hell of a Saturday night.
I can't wait. I can't wait, bro.
Whew. I'm like, I don't know. You got me amped when you were talking about Leon and his KO. Like I was already starting to feel like the jitters and just ready. And then this talking through this. I mean, we've got two fights and we both picked opposite people. but it just doesn't matter who wins. We're just so lucky to get to see these 4 guys fight on the same night. This is what warriors do. This is what like gladiators used to do. Like that's how it feels. We're in like a coliseum.
And this kind of encapsulates 30 years of the UFC because they've done nothing but give us the best fights anytime. Look, John Jones and Stipe fell off. Okay, cool. We have an amazing co-main event. We'll bump it up, and we've got the next 2 best available guys within the former main events weight class. We've got the backup fighter. Cool. He's ranked number 2, I think. We've got ranked number 4. The next guy up who's red hot right now. Match him up and see how it happens. And look, like we literally just can't wait to see these 4 warriors along with everyone else on this card, but especially the co-main and the main event.
Mm-hmm. This is one of those ones when we talk about, you know, this is worth the price of admission. This is the one you pay for. This is the one you're sitting down early. This is the one you're going to talk about for a couple of weeks.
This is the one where you tell all your boys, "Are you free? Let's all meet
exactly.
and we're going to go and watch some great fights."
And then next week, you know what's great? We get to come back and we get to talk about it again.
Exactly.
So AJ, I have had a great time with you today. We've had a great conversation. Amazing. I cannot wait to text you all night about these damn fights. I'm pumped. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's get to Saturday and let's
I'm actually going out that night, but I'm like 3 o'clock. I'm at home.
Yeah. I totally understand.
It's my friend's birthday. I'm like, yeah, 3 o'clock. Yeah, Uber home, man. I need to watch this.
Right.
I need to watch this, man.
It's must see TV. AJ, you got anything for us before we get out of here?
I finished The Shield. You said
it was great.
The ending is one of the best endings of TV that you will ever see. It's worth watching that alone. I've started watching the Alien movies, so I finished Prometheus and Covenant. So I'm going to start the main, like Ridley Scott timeline of the Alien films coming up.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for me, man. Anything else with you? Oh, and the Giants are going to draft Caleb Williams
which is exciting for you. I mean, that's very exciting because Caleb Williams is otherworldly talented.
And
I just hope you guys get him somebody else besides Waller to throw to. I just don't want to see him go there and get fucked over because the Giants haven't ran their organization greatly recently.
And we need to give him some O-line because our O-line is Swiss cheese.
Exactly. I would almost consider sitting out Barkley the rest of the year just to be safe.
Yeah, I'll literally just. I don't agree with like tanking, but it's like
no, but this is your chance to rejuvenize your whole franchise. Like this, if you get Caleb, you're like, fuck yeah, okay. Now we pay Saquon because we've got our guy on a rookie contract. You sign him for 3 years. You go out and you trade for one of these weapons, and you're back into the conversation again.
Exactly.
Because you don't, it's just I think you got to go get Caleb in this situation. But AJ, we got a lot going on this weekend. We will be back next Thursday. I am ready to go, man. I cannot wait to talk to you again. Guys, this has been HOA MMA, and we will see you next week.
Out.